Welcome. It's our first panel of Milan Fashion Week, and we're going to be talking about the Gucci show. So it's a big, wonderful, big Italian house to be talking about, and I've got a wonderful set of panellists with me to unpick what's going on in Italy, but I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Emma Elwick. I'm the style editor of British Vogue.
I'm Davies. I'm editor of Hero magazine.
I'm Andrea, Gelardin, and I work with fashion films.
I'm Camilla Morton, and I'm a fashion writer.
So what are we looking forward to in Milan? What's Milan's sort of fashion identity for us now? Is it a chance just to have a break when the schedule's a bit packed? Is it something we actually get excited about? What do we think of Milan? Camilla.
Milan is where the big orders really happen. Milan has always been very much about luxury handbags. It's where all the production, all the factories come from Italy. And I think the Milanese fashion underpins all the department stores across the world. And it's, Paris has haute couture and a lot of creativity there, but actually the big orders and the buying big power brands, it all comes from Milan. And Gucci is such an important one to kick it all off with because it's such an iconic Italian brand. There's no mistaking that it's anything other than the start of Milan now.
But do you think that what we see there has a sort of maybe a fashion relevance? Do we feel that it moves the season on? Are we still interested in terms of what the designers are putting out there creatively, or is it just kind of that big commercial power?
I think New York and London, they have different agendas. In Milan, it's such a big brand before you've even opened the curtains or the invitation that Gucci already says so much that it's just kind of continuing who they are.
It's polished, it's multimedia. It is really, for me, business central, and always has such an accessories focus. So I think I look more to Milan in terms of accessories,
Do we find
rather than ready to wear.
Yeah. Do you find it exciting going there?
I think,
I think enjoy it. I think there are highlights. Obviously, the Prada show is always such a highlight because it's so sensory and everything is so considered. But generally, when you're there, it's quite straightforward. Business, big glossy shows, polish.
It's where it's much more polished, but every city has a different function within the wheel. And although Milan is the third city and it's starting to go a bit tough on the old schedule, I think it is such an important city because it's where all the money goes. And actually, if you look at the London designers, I'm sure they'd love to be as big a power brand as Gucci. It's not aspirational in some ways, but it's such a sort of business model city that it's where all the money is and where all the production is, and that's why they're the global powers.
Dean, what's your take on Milan?
I really enjoyed the first time I went to a Gucci women's wear show. It was that was the first kind of Milan women's wear show I attended, and it was kind of everything that I thought a fashion show would be. You turn up and there's a beautiful mirrored bar, and there's champagne, and there's loud music, and Anya Rubik, and it's exactly what I'd want from Gucci.
That stood out for me. My first Gucci show was the models, because I think obviously London now it's become great and the casting's really strong, but London maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I was first at Vogue, it wasn't like that. So to go to Milan and suddenly have this roll call of these Amazonian women.
So it feels like proper fashion in a way, but
and
in a
these
very
incredible
grown-up
gowns, exactly.
Andrea, do you find, I'm interested because Camilla said, it's where all the production is. Do you find it when you work with an Italian house, if you're producing sort of a fashion film, or if you're working with someone, it's just on another level to what you get? Is there less creative freedom when you're working with a bigger house?
I think there is a bit less, which in a way makes it a little bit more boring. And when I watch a show, I'm always thinking, oh, that would look great, on so-and-so model in a film or this or that. And probably the Italian ones are slightly less exciting in that way, because I'm not really looking for leather goods accessories that do well in shops and things like that. But having said that, Prada, Fendi, Gucci, they are quite interesting, and they sometimes surprise us.
Are they embracing fashion filming? We've seen Ruth did a brilliant film with Fendi. Are you finding that they are embracing these kind of new ways of displaying fashion?
Definitely. I think actually the Italian ones possibly more than the French ones.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're really into the idea of pushing the media and seeing kind of what ways to show their collections. They're definitely into it.
Yeah, Gucci was quite early
into that.
Films,
Yeah, definitely.
And also they were quite early on the internet, weren't they?
Yeah.
They had a early presence there.
Well, some of the streams that we see in Italy, I know this is, again, going back to it's because there's a lot of money there, they're the most beautifully done. Like the Prada stream is always impeccably done, aside from the Vuitton one. You know, the production on that is absolutely incredible. And as you said, I mean, if you look at this, it feels incredibly slick, and it's just, it feels like grown-up fashion, doesn't it? Let's talk about ideas of luxury, because you mentioned accessories, which is something I want to talk a little bit about, because it does feel to me like ideas of what is luxurious are changing, and I wonder going forward how that's going to affect how we see Milan, because it doesn't feel to me as much that people see kind of a big Gucci bag as being something that's a very luxurious thing. If you look at London and all that focus on craft and texture, it seems like people's ideas of what is aspirational fashion have changed. I don't know if you guys would agree with that. What do we consider luxury?
I don't know whether it's what we consider luxury. I think it's how shows have been presented that have changed. Because when I started going to the shows 1,000 years ago, you went to the city, and if you didn't write enough notes in the shows, you didn't get to check it on the internet. You weren't able to sort of like double check the handbag, double check this, and I think the big Milan shows like Gucci, they had it all such a slickly oiled machine, and they'd resolved so many sort of problems, and they were one of the first people to actually send out lookbooks that they were imitated because they'd already put themselves out there on this pedestal. And I don't think that luxury has shifted its desire or anything like that. I think that luxury is now more accessible on such a huge global plane now, that everybody is defining luxury in a different way in a different city. And I think that Gucci is now sort of like a global name. You know it. It doesn't even need translating or explaining. And I think now what I think is interesting about fashion is how it's got to shift, because this schedule, I mean, we're all sort of relatively fashion people like to think they're very important, but we're all very unimportant little people running around. But actually, it used to be all about the sales and the delivery and the new ideas. But now, because of the digital, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it's brilliant that it's exposed so many people, but it's also made delivery and what really is luxury impossible to box anymore. And I think maybe the internet will sort of see a shift away from everybody lumping over to the shows and doing these package holidays to a city for a week, and it will be designers do, I don't know whether you think this, but I mean there must be something's got to give, because I mean now everybody, you read on the Twitter feed this morning, now everybody's arriving in Milan in a sort of crumpled heap after New York straight into London, and that's not putting your best foot forward to go and see a collection that they've got 15 minutes to grab your attention. It's like speed dating, and you're on to the third date and you're really over the experience already. You know, and I think that's why they have to bring out the greatest supermodels and this, that and the other. But I don't know, I'm saying too much. That's
interesting. Would you guys agree with that? Do you think the schedule has kind of become
exhaustive?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite punishing at the moment.
What's going to be the future? How are we going to... Because I think everyone's kind of acknowledging that something's going to have to give, but what's it going to be? Is it going to be that we all watch the shows online? Is it going to be that just...
Scrap Milan. Joke.
Everyone sits out Milan. What do you think, Dean?
I think it's just about finding the right way to present for each brand. You know, like Gucci could put on a great show, and you know you'd enjoy the experience. But also, you know, there's so much stuff right now. There's so much kind of pollution of stuff. You know, some things don't even need to be shown. They can be on a hanger in a showroom. And I think people need to address the way they present things and what works for them.
Why do people feel a pressure to do a fashion show, though?
Well, I think Oscar de la Renta was right this year in scaling it back and actually doing what he felt was right for his brand and showing it in the way that suits his brand better. I would like each city to be more focused on nurturing and looking after their designers, and you know, the magazines in their city really champion those, like Vogue do, and then you know the New York designers and the New York journalists can kind of tell us, and we can learn from each other, rather than all feeling so insecure and not trusting each other to let somebody else tell you what's going on.
That idea of exchange is quite appealing, I think, at a time when you know, we all so easily communicate, but we don't really listen to each other.
Exactly.
And it's also, I think there's kind of that sense of ownership of kind of, you know, British designers being supported by British magazines rather than, you know, seeing their profile in American Vogue. It's quite frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, because you find them.
Do you think that's because of fashion's constant focus on the new? Everyone feels like they're sort of, every publication is scared of missing out, so there's this constant sort of rat race of everyone having to go and see everything.
Well, everybody's running around in circles at the moment. You're bound to miss things because you're trying to find the new thing as well as go to the big thing, as well as grab an advertiser, as well as do this. And you just are sort of ending up in a spiral of madness. And I think actually, I don't know, but I think it's difficult for the new designers as much as it's difficult for the big designers, because everybody feels that they need to come out and go blah and draw attention to themselves and send out naked supermodels just to advertise their new credit card. And you know, it's something, I think something has to give to put actually the focus back on the clothes. I was talking to somebody last night, and he was saying that actually now, he used to shoot backstage, but now all the revenue is on the street fashion outside, and that seems to be totally mental, because we're meant to be going to see shows to see next season, and you know, getting it in shops and in stores and in magazines.
It'd be nice to see that circus combust of that kind of pandemonium. I always wonder what it would be like to go in a time machine, and what it would be like to just be able to walk into a show and take a seat without kind of like bustling through.
Is that bubble bursting, do you think?
I hope so.
Well, because we've seen a lot of backlash against it. You know, Susie Menkes wrote that brilliant piece. What do you guys say? Are we going to see an end to that?
No, because the people that are doing it don't read those things, and they're too interested in getting their picture taken. They've just taken the top to toe look out of the packet and walked out in it. It's like, if you wear it every day, then that's great. Yeah. But they don't. It's such an artifice.
I think, sadly, there will always be within history people that love peacocking, and that's what it is.
Which is a brilliant thing, but you know, have some intelligence with it.
Have you noticed with the Vogue readers, have you noticed that that's sort of something that they find really exciting now? Do you feel more of a pressure to even cover that?
I think British Vogue, we've always tried to encompass kind of, you know, real fashion and real women, and I think that's inspiring. But I think there is a kind of combustion point on the street style. I feel there's so much.
I mean, I do think like you say, real women are inspiring, but I think the peacocking at the shows almost eclipses the real reason why people, you know,
star
just
leaders
makes your job
might have their head down just trying to get into the show.
Yeah, it's more fun to sort of look at the theatrical sort of fantasy side of fashion in that way. I always find the street stuff personally a bit boring, because it's sort of half of the fun of all of it is sort of creating these beautiful stories and the hair and the makeup and the model, and it's all sort of packaged thing. Whereas, I don't know, the street thing's a bit more sort of, that's not making you dream anywhere, you know.
Do you think it's also made us think that fashion isn't as exciting? Because often, like, a criticism people always levy at Milan, and often it shows like Gucci, they walk out of it and they're like, oh, that was Gucci, you know, fine. And it's almost like, I think people have just got to this numb point where you could kind of put anything in front of them and they'd be a bit sort of apathetic towards it, because you just, Fashion Week is like a visual assault in some ways, you know, you see so much. Because I wonder why people are so critical of some of the Milan shows and say that they are so boring, when actually a Gucci show, as Dean mentioned, the production on it is really spectacular, and people, I think it's quite sad that people don't feel excited.
I think, I mean, okay, Versace is not subtle in its stereotype, but it's a bit like going to an Italian restaurant and you can get a beautiful, subtle Milanese risotto, and it's got lots of spices and herbs in it that you don't really notice. But it's the crazy ball of rice with an orchid perched on top and a strawberry stirred into the spice that sort of you remember because it's so weird. And I think you don't need to rape all of your senses. You just need to edit it back, is my
It also
opinion.
comes just after London, which is so, you know, particularly exciting. You know,
you don't even get 24 hours to have a palate cleanser.
But I think people forget as well, you know, that in the same way you were saying each fashion city has a different function within the bigger whole. you know, so do each designers. Like, you might go to Mead & Kirchhoff for something really, you know, inspiring, like an inspiring kind of nourishing story which excites you about fashion. But then I will go to Gucci to buy a coat and I'll feel great in that coat. And then someone might say, oh, that's a really nice coat. You know what I mean? It's all valid. It's all a patchwork. I don't think anything is worth more than anything else, really.
But I think I agree with what you're saying, but I think the way fashion is written about, particularly by sort of some of the younger publications and some of the style mags, as if commercial brands have less sort of worth or less fashion currency. You know, you're not going to see Gucci covered by Dazed or ID in the same way they would cover Medium. And I feel like it feeds into this idea that something has to be unsellable to be exciting.
I interviewed Frida Giannini last year for Dazed, and you know, this year we did Fendi. We did Balenciaga, but then we've also done Rick Owens. You know, it's a real patchwork of things. And I think maybe for me personally, what I'm kind of interested in at the moment is how these big houses, you have this existing framework and how you can make that as exciting as possible. Maybe I am more interested in something more subtle at the moment, you know, in terms of telling a story.
Yeah, I think I am.
You know, maybe that goes hand in hand with the street style thing, you know. It's you always want what you haven't got.
Although I am very tempted next season to dress up in cling film and gift wrap and just see whether it improves my seating position.
Let's talk a little bit about Gucci as a brand and the Gucci sort of DNA. Don't like that term, but let's. Where would we put Gucci? Let's talk about it from as a brand from the Tom Ford years. Let's talk about what Frida's done there. Where would Gucci sit? Give me your Gucci summary, Emma.
The Gucci summary, as in where it sits, as in, well, for me, as we were talking about craftsmanship, polish.
Oh, it looks like we're starting. Sorry to cut you off. Are we starting?
Yeah. See the first exit.
Oh? Oh no, the dreaded Gucci stream. Oh, okay.
Okay, that's kind of sportier, like the menswear was, the line of it.
I want to talk a little bit about that menswear. I'll pick your brains on it, Dean, because I know that you were there. Because they did she put out an incredibly sporty collection for the menswear, and it drew quite a lot of criticism with people saying it felt like a luxury brand just kind of cherry picking, you know, what's selling at the moment. Oh, everyone in London's doing streetwear, I'll do that. And quite a lot of people said it felt really sort of like it wasn't remotely authentic. Did you agree with that? No,
not at all. I kind of, to go back to what I was touched on earlier, I kind of find that quite interesting because especially editing a men's magazine and kind of being a young men's magazine as well, you know, we're kind of, I think our readers are kind of younger than the other publications out there. It's the people kind of coming into Gucci now and getting interested in fashion. They grew up wearing these silhouettes and that's what they know and that's what they want. And I think it's her adapting to kind of a more contemporary take, really. It was kind of interesting in the showroom afterwards. They were telling us that obviously if you look at the show you'll see there was no evening shoes in it, which, you know, I like an evening shoe, so I would have liked to have seen some, but the trainers were made from the same leather that they do made to order goods in, so it was kind of still has that luxury slant, but it's like you say about, you know, these extra details that you don't know on immediate, you know, inspection.
So you think it's just about stepping forward? It's just about,
I think so. I really liked that collection.
Yeah,
I liked
all
the florals and the
beautiful,
silk. Yeah, I think
some of the really crafty pieces, like those knit were amazing. What's our take on this so far, Emma? What do you think?
Well, the boho tassels, and I was just thinking that, you know, it goes to the equestrian heritage, which is obviously something I always think about with Gucci, which I wish they'd play on more.
I always like it when they do it in a slightly more creative way, you know, when there's something a little bit more
like
playful.
when they've done kind of, you know, cavalry, or they've gone for...
Well, they did jodhpurs in the men's collection, but really sporty,
and
cool.
had that bag that was like the kind of the harness as well.
I wish there was more of that in here. I mean, I think all this like black strapping and the mesh and the bra tops, it harks back more to the Tom Ford years of Gucci.
I like the palette though. I do like the restrained palette, I think. And I like the print. It almost looks like a very, very blown up, distorted version of the classic Gucci G emblem logo.
It's interesting that you say she's sort of hopped back to the Tom Ford era more, because I feel like that's what she's been doing quite successfully. You know, last season as well felt very Tom Ford with those incredible white dresses that almost looked like they'd been lifted from Tom Ford, and I think it feels confident when she does that in a way. But I think that's I wonder, I don't know if you guys would agree with me, I think she's in a tricky position because whenever she does something that feels confident and sexy, people go, oh, she's doing Tom Ford.
I know.
But she's kept the softness, and that's what she's brought to this, has that kind of like flowing femininity, which wasn't so prevalent in the Tom Ford years.
It's interesting,
Beautiful
it's all
Bahati.
black. Practically the whole thing's black.
For spring, summer.
Yeah.
But we've said that on every single panel we've done. We've said, this looks wintry. And I think the conclusion we've all come to is that no one really thinks about seasons
And
anymore.
it goes into the stores in January, so you might want a black skirt or a black coat.
Yeah.
Exactly, and somewhere it's going to be cold and somewhere it's going to be warm. And people
yeah.
travel a lot, especially if you're buying Gucci head to toe.
But these Jean U style bras are pure from the Tom Ford era.
I guess that's quite an interesting thing when you think about a house, and this really ties to what Dean was saying about when a designer goes into a house with a lot of heritage and sort of has to update it. It's quite nice to see her picking up all aspects of the heritage from Tom Ford stuff. You kind of think, why not? Why not take coats?
Well, it was an important time. You know, there's no
Exactly.
point sort of like shoving it in a corner and ignoring it. I think she understands women, and she understands the Gucci woman, and has given it a real classy twist.
I think so. Can I just say I really liked it when after the Tom Ford era the branding turned from black to bronze, and like you go past the store now, it's such a kind of beautiful environment to be in. And I think she has got like a warmer approach than that kind of stark, harsh blackness.
It reminds me a little bit, I think it's very tempting when a female designer goes into a house that was sort of headed by a man who's sort of almost aggressive in his design. Because it's the same thing that people say about Sarah Better, and they say, oh, she's feminised it, she's softened it. But I think it's more complex with what Frieda's done there. I don't think it is just, like, this is incredibly sexy, and it's almost aggressive in how sexy, if you saw those incredibly low sheer panels. But I think I don't know if she definitely has sort of feminised it. I feel like she's doing something slightly more complex, but I think
it's more layered, absolutely.
I think it's a better relationship. I think she is, well, I don't know whether it's better is the right word, that for the era we're in, it's a better fit for what it is. It's softer and it's less overtly sexy. It's more
this
intelligent.
is quite overtly sexy, panels of kind of fishnet and mesh. But it does feel soft, but I question kind of how she manages to do that. Maybe that's her real skill as a designer.
I like these soft pants.
I don't think she doesn't seem like she ever sort of thinks, okay, I'm really going to take a risk and go wild, with this collection, in the way that I think Sarah Burton personally does a little bit more, which makes the show obviously itself more exciting and more of a spectacle. So it's funny how it's a totally different thing. I kind of wonder whether she ever thinks, oh, screw it, let's just do something completely wild. I mean, Frieda. Because you know what I mean? The shows are always, they are in the end really back to the classic, leather goods thing, or all the sort of classic cuts, all the classic everything. And I don't know whether she feels, I don't even know if she's allowed to go completely mad,
But I guess that's kind of what we were all saying about Milan. That's not what we look to Milan for, is it? It's kind of for a subtle update on it.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
I'm really impressed by this. I don't know
I
about
think
you.
it's
Yeah,
really
it's quite nice.
gorgeous. I really like the print.
I love that particular one, that jacket.
So I'm looking at it from a view of shooting it, and I'm thinking, gosh, actually, there's not a lot there. It's quite one idea. Frieda's Gucci is always heavily thematic, like her ruffle collection and.
Does that make it very difficult for the stylist? Do you not think that's the strength of it though? Because they know that when it's shot, everyone will go, "That's the Gucci." Like those ruffles. It was like.
I'm more interested in when you can, take something, put it with something else, and make it something entirely new. And I think
There's not much
maybe she's done it on purpose. She's kept it very concise, so it is Gucci. No matter where you put those kind of metallicized levers or bronzes, it's the Gucci look of the season, which actually puts me off it as a collection.
Is it harder to style than a lot of the Italian brands? Because to me, a lot of them do that. This is very much this is the.
I think, as I said, going back to Prada is easier because Prada, she sells you that big theme or that big idea, but it's so. I just don't think there's the complexity to Gucci that there is to Prada, because Prada you can take apart and it's clothes for wearing. It's actually a jumper and it's a dress. Where I feel like a lot of these meshy dresses, as I said, they can't be deconstructed in any way.
But I think that shows a certain confidence as well, that she's like got her groove. She knows what she wants,
not necessarily
and not compromising.
She's thinking about her customer, her woman.
And I think it's almost like, you know, how the way we'd expect big advertisers to control what's shot in editorial, it's almost doing that from the word go, because she's being like, whatever you put this with.
That's what I mean. I look at that and I'm
Gucci
viewing
look.
it and this is quite frustrating.
Yeah.
But isn't it like that thing when, you know, when you were a kid and you were at school and you wanted those trainers, and then when you have those trainers, everyone knows you have those trainers.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of what fashion is. You know, there's a certain ubiquity to it by its nature.
I find that really interesting, especially given that we just had 2 London panels yesterday where the consensus was what we felt was really exciting about Simone Rocha and Medium Kirchhoff was how their fashion's almost democratic in the sense that whilst there's incredible craft in the pieces they make, obviously with Simone and with that Medium collection, the vibe of it is that someone could emulate that. They could go to vintage shops, they could get their mum's old nightie, they could a kid could put together a look that would be like a Medium Kirchhoff look. And obviously it wouldn't have the incredible craftsmanship. And then you look at something like this and you think, unless you own that.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could look and take inspiration from vintage pieces from the 20s and the 30s, but the actual quality of lace or mesh or the way the embroidery's been appliqued is that you couldn't imitate it.
Who is the woman that wants to dress like this, though? I've never met her.
Well, she's... No, I think you have. I think she's quite an aspirational woman. She's on the red carpet. She's, you know, she's a power woman, and she doesn't mingle. She asserts herself.
But who is that? Like who?
Yeah, but you've got to have
It goes
someone
to
to
the secret
inspire
door at the airport
to.
that we don't go through.
Yeah, they do. I'll probably never meet her, quite deliberately. I'll be kept separate from her.
You know, I think part of Gucci's allure is that it is so aspirational and it is this first-class woman.
They'd probably say some sort of 70s actress type person. I always find that when they give briefs for, you know, films and commercials and things they want to do, the Italian houses always, well, pretty much always give an Italian actress that they think is really, you know, everything they're going for. They always have a really clear idea of who that woman is, which is normally their starting point, whereas London designers never normally brief in that way.
How do London designers? Is it more of a mood? That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think the London designers are more about taking risks and really, you know, pushing things around, and it's more about what they want the film to do and what they want you to feel, you know, possibly. Whereas I think Gucci, Prada, Fendi, they always talk about the Fendi woman, the Gucci woman, which is quite hard because I kind of agree with you. I'm not quite sure exactly who that person is.
That's really interesting. You said the London designers that they want it to be how it makes the person feel, like the viewer feel.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's the crucial difference between London and Italian fashion. London fashion, it's about inspiring you, it's inspiring the viewer, whereas this isn't for anyone other than the Gucci women.
Exactly.
Well, they've got too many stores worldwide to not have considered every single possibility. They can't have sort of indecision or ambiguity. They have to know everything about her so that nothing is left to chance, whereas in London it can sort of shake to fit and see who it fits best on.
I mean, we're an island of eccentrics, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's our strength. So
It wasn't entirely dissimilar from the last collection. You know, remember those long mesh sort of dresses that had that sort of metallic-y with black mesh vibe.
To me, that felt slightly kind of bad taste in a kind of deliberate way. You know,
Yeah.
some of that felt quite playful, like those real sort of really opulent sequins. That felt quite fresh. I know we had those incredible sort of birdie embellished pieces last season, but to me, like some of the mesh and the real sort of sheer panels, that felt like when Joan Smalls came out and, you know, she had that mesh bikini on it, kind of it reminded me of the kind of Gucci woman you see in a rapper's video, you know, in a kind of
Yeah.
amusing way, in
Yeah,
the way
no,
that Gucci's
exactly.
name checked, in a way
Yeah.
that probably the brand is desperately trying to distance itself from. It felt like they were almost, it felt quite playful. What's your takeaway from that, Emma? You're just like desperately trying to work out how you can style it. You look really unhappy. You're like, there's no flexibility.
I like the sporty elements. I like the injection of the mesh because their resort collection had a lot of that, you know, the bronze and the sequins, but it felt a bit 70s and a bit more dated. And I feel that, you know, it was nice with the modern twists and those kind of, as a Tom Ford-esque kind of strappy harness bras. I think it's a good season for her. I think she's had a few tricky ones since she's been there, and you know, I think that, you know, ticked the boxes. I find it. Actually, there wasn't as much emphasis on the accessories as I thought
That's
there
what I was
would be.
thinking, yeah.
There were only 2 bag shapes really, weren't there?
With the fringes, which is something we've seen from the house before. But
Yeah,
that's
it's
not
true.
it.
I
think
really
it's interesting
liked
how many
it.
accessories we're seeing on other runways done in a kind of statement way. You know, when we saw that season where all the bags were held differently, it feels like people don't just put accessories out anymore just to show off a new accessory. It feels like there's actually a creative proposition with their accessories. So maybe that's why that felt a bit.
Because she was someone, you know, that's, you know, twittering through the night or lounging on her yacht. Well, that's how I feel. So she doesn't need a handbag.
Yeah.
She's got
You
someone
know,
carrying her
for
stuff
me-
behind.
That's it. The best bag is no bag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the ultimate status
Yeah.
symbol, to not need a bag.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
'Cause you just
floating
have a
around in your
driver.
embellished
Yeah.
Larno caftan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're on a yacht, you probably don't need anything with you, do you? What's your take on it, Dean? Did you like it?
I really liked it. I'm often kind of more a fan of winter collections because I like a lot of stuff. But I've really liked these last two Gucci spring summer collections. I like the last one, the ruffle one.
Did you like the
I really
ruffles?
like that. Yeah, I really like this as well. Yeah.
Do you think, what does this say about the state of how women dress or how Italian women dress? What does this?
I don't think I can answer for on behalf of the entire
I
Italian
feel that
nation.
there is a slight need coming from. I feel that, you know, sex is back, and I feel that a lot of people are doing that because I think we've had, you know, the high necklines, the full skirts, the real return to ladylike minimalism. So tasteful. We've been so tasteful for so long. Thank you, Phoebe Philo. And I feel that this will fit into a mood that I feel like a lot of people are slashing sexy. They want it to be about
That's true. I agree with that. I'm so bored of this
taste.
minimalism.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a good moment.
Really,
I don't
Dean? Are
think
you
it's
not a
taste.
minimalist? Look at you.
You know, like everything's been so minimal, so tasteful. So
But I think
considered.
minimal is often like when Phoebe Philo does minimal. I hate that word anyway. But when Phoebe Philo does that, it's great. But the problem is that it creates 20, 30, 40, 50, a million copycats who are doing it soullessly. And it's so boring. It's like, would you ever want to go to a party and speak to someone dressed like that?
But can I
Unless
raise
they're
the
wearing
point?
Celine.
Imagine seeing that copied and how that would
agree.
look. Imagine.
Yeah, but she'd have personality, I'd say that. And that's more
what I
interesting.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
I
true.
thought it was a great collection, and I thought it was a really glamorous, slick presentation. And I think, I don't think it could be imitated, and I think that that's why it is Gucci. And I think she's very true to what it is, and I think it's kind of like a perfect leveler to kick off Milan, because you could I don't think I could cope with Milan if it started with something as pivotal as Prada, because it would
don't
just
really wanna
like
have to think,
you
do
don't
you?
need it to be that stressful straight away, whereas Gucci is consistently glamorous, luxe, and it's like a reliable bling label that you know.
Well, it says, you know, hi, it's Milan.
Yeah.
I'm sexy and I'm slick.
Yeah, Milan likes it sexy.
And then we can leave Milan on the
Yeah.
interesting kind of, you know, thought that what Mrs. Prada's put in our heads.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the point that Emma just made about sort of sex coming back and it feeling kind of quite now. I know it's hard to pin down these big moves, but why does that feel current? Why are we? Is it just a reaction to people being?
Because we have a cycle all
Yeah,
the
is it
time.
just-
It's like the fashion wheel. It's like we've done innocent, we've done naive, we've done let's keep it minimal and not give much away, and now we're like woo,
Yeah.
because you have to have the need to want to buy more clothes.
But to me, London didn't feel super sexy. It felt more girly than sexy, medium, and even.
I don't think London's ever sexy though, but I thought New York was really sexy.
Yeah, very all that 90s stuff.
Even like, Wang, some of them all like the androgynous thing from the Sheraton, it felt, there's a cutaway panel, there's mesh, there's going to be some flesh on show. I feel, just everything, like look at, the Blurred Lines video for Al, I feel we're seeing a lot of flesh at the moment.
Yeah. Are you excited to do lots of fleshy films, Andrea? You're like, oh,
not so sure. Yeah, I mean, this flesh-bearing, if that's what you mean by sexy, sort of clothes, it's quite tricky on film because it's not as easy to create this sort of mystery. There's the beauty of the sort of the magic of it. So for me, something like this collection is certainly not something I imagine on a film, on a wonderful model or hair or things that I can sort of dreaming about. It's not the clothes that would necessarily match that sort of intriguing mystery that makes fashion films really exciting. So it sort of depends what angle you look at it from. I don't know if any of you would wear. Are these clothes you'd want to own, yourself, or because they're not. I mean, I think that this collection I thought was really nice, but it's funny because it's not something I would ever want to wear myself or can imagine anyone I know wearing. So
see, I could totally
really
picture myself wafting through Claridge's at 3 in the morning.
In that bra, get up.
No, in the full look. With the I think I would be a total look kind of girl if I was a Gucci girl. And I would have my billowing chiffon flying behind me, a servant carrying my shoes on a silver tray. Yeah.
This goes back to something I kind of wanted to ask about at the start, which is this luxury thing and this idea of what kind of fashion is aspirational, though, because I question anymore if people aspire to owning a Gucci handbag or a Vuitton handbag. Purely, maybe it is that live stream thing because we've seen it so much. It doesn't feel like it's exclusive, and I wonder if that's why we're seeing so much of a focus on texture and craft, because that's kind of a new start. People want something that feels handmade, almost like there's more.
Exactly.
I mean, as those flew past, you could see the weighting of the fabric, the way the diaphanous flow against the embroidery plasmon, like that was really skillfully done, and it will flow beautifully. And I think that is a real craft thing. No? Well, I thought it was. I mean, but also,
I love that you stopped speaking just as I bit it. Thanks for that.
Well, no, I thought you were giving me a look like you've gone mad. No, but I think that the Gucci woman is like, this is. I mean, imagine, even if that just sells you a bit of perfume or a lipstick or a bit of nail varnish, you're buying into being that woman. And I could, on my budget, I'd be more likely to slap on a bit of lipstick and think, I am her today. And then I could waft through Claridge's or even Tesco's, but you would have that image in your mind. And I think Gucci and even Milan, it's all about creating an aspiration, whether you feel that I think that fashion is very escapist, and it has to always be moving forward and always creating something, and it creates different characters, and Milan definitely has the sexy characteristic that is the woman that will have the sugar daddy with the platinum card.
Do women still aspire to that? I guess that's
no,
what I'm asking.
I don't think they do, but I think women always, whether they are minimalist, whether they are maximalist, they always want to look beautiful, and this is an option for it.
Maybe fascinated by the fantasy of it.
It does feel, it's so removed, isn't it?
Yes.
Maybe that's the point, that none of us know a woman that dresses like that. Maybe that's...
No, but also when you are on the daily commute on the tube, when you've got a plastic bag full of your trainers or your dry cleaning or whatever, it's nice to have some sort of real aspirational fantasy to escape to. I think
what I like about it is how international it feels.
Yeah.
You can imagine those kind of sequin captains, twinkling anywhere.
Actually, no,
that's very deliberate, obviously.
Yeah.
What else are we excited for the rest of Milan? No one's allowed to say Prada because we're all excited for Prada.
Fendi. Yeah,
Fendi.
Something amazing's going on at Fendi at the moment. Last 2 seasons.
He's just got so much energy there.
I used to be really excited about Trussardi always, but now no longer, which makes me
I
sad.
think what I like about Milan is the sheer volume of business that happens there. It's quite inspiring how much of the sort of like the revenue of fashion, it all, because basically all the books, you've seen New York, you've seen London, you're kind of floating by whether you're going to put an order in or not. Milan, you start opening the books and place huge billion-dollar orders, and I think that's where fashion is really interesting, the sort of the revenue and the communication of it.
I can't wait for Dolce.
I know, I love Dolce.
Yeah.
It makes me
I
so
love
happy.
the Dolce show. It's just, it's very life affirming.
You know, it is. When you go and you leave, I feel like that's what I want to be. You know, it's like it's just the happiest thing in the world. It's so nice. It makes me, I'm a bit ashamed of that, but it does make me really happy.
Don't be ashamed. I love the theatre of Dolce, and I think Tabitha Zinnes does a brilliant job styling it. And
Yeah,
I just
it's
think
really good.
It's just good, isn't it?
I love it. Wonderful.
Lifts the mood.
When's Dolce?
It's
When's
Thursday. No, Friday. Friday, is it?
at the end?
Yeah. I don't know.
I was just wondering if it was
I don't
at the
know.
very end of the whole thing.
Well, what should we sum up sort of this Gucci show as?
Modern opulence.
Well, there you go, Emma, that's good.
No one going to top that. No witticism.
Well, I just think that Gucci gives us the glamorous start that we all need to sling on the next pair of shoes and start the next week.
Yeah.
Perfect. I knew I could rely on you to come up with a little ditty. So thank you very much, guys. It's a brilliant panel.
Thank you.
Thanks.